Shenge Entertainment sesifikile with yet another episode for you guys. Namhlanje siphethe a very interesting guy, a friend of mine. I can't wait for this episode, man. You're probably wondering ukuthi uphi uNgcebo Shange. Don't worry, guys. Ikona is in the room. Mhlawumbe every now and then he's going to make an appearance. We are no guest yet to namhlanje uNgcebo Shange. We are hosting not a while. Introduce a man, but I just want to let you guys know what he, as promised. Remember, we promised you we're going to give you an episode of academics, and it was academics. It was all these things, nitty-gritty that have to do with academics, whether it's from primary all the way to tertiary, how to choose subjects, career paths, and all those things. There, it's not just going to be serious. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy ourselves, guys. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Lethu Mkhize, a friend of mine, an intellectual.
Hey, you feel pressure, man.
Yeah.
Guys,
no,
this
man.
guy's putting pressure on me now.
Man, Lethu Mkhize, tell us more about yourself. Just a brief introduction to who are you, just for some of people that don't know. By the way, remember that first recording we did, that promo? Sikhuluma ngenkanyamba. This was the guy who came in. Lethu Mkhize, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Tell us more about yourself, man.
First of all, thank you very much, Shenge. Thank you very much, Shange. And greeting to all the listeners and all to all the viewers. Thank you very much to be part of this podcast. It's very interesting. The conversations and the chemistry that you guys have together, it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Lethu Mkhize. Ngokuzalwa ngiqhamuka ekhaya lethu ngale kaNdengezi, but ngokuzalwa eMaritzburg le Edeni, ngazalelwa lapho, and then ikhaya ikhulu seHammersdale, but nje ikhaya lami la kaNdengezi. So still a young person. Got a couple of I think probably 1 year left now to make it to move from the boundary.
Sekusola kancane sizophuma ku-youth. Ngiyese kubale as one of us.
Youth bracket ngizophuma manje.
I see you wearing a ring.
I'm married, one wife. I've got a daughter.
No, you need to be specific. One wife.
No, one wife. There must be no ambiguity. Apparently, in society, it's become normal.
Yeah. Some of those norms.
Yeah, one wife and a daughter. And yeah, man, it's a pleasure. Got to know you guys. You guys, by the way, these guys are assisting me in a lot of things. So I'm excited. Yeah,
Shenge Entertainment at your service. If you guys need our services, do DM us. We're going to assist you the best way we can.
Yeah.
Lethu, you mentioned, Uti, you've got a daughter, right? If you don't mind me asking, how old is she?
She is 5 years old, turning 6.
Okay, and academically, where is she?
Currently now, we went to grade R.
Okay.
Next year, we went to grade 1. So she's selling the response of his school. That's with, yeah.
Okay. So, grade R.
Yeah.
So, do you think what's the impact in those levels academically? What impact do those levels have in terms of ukhula komuntu academically?
Look, what I can say from Ankulme first of all, based on experience before I move to theory, from the experiential side, there's a foundational phase. Umntwana is very important.
Okay.
So the schooling, in fact, if you go back in history, ukufunda was based on formal and non-formal.
Yes.
Or formal and informal, the way you want to put it like that. So initially, the parent was the teacher.
Yeah.
And then skills and society was growing, skills became expertized, then so from the period of ukuzalwa komntwana up to the ages of, they saying on neuroscience about 7, 8.
Yeah.
Those are the building blocks of umntwana. Those they look kind of personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biblically, Bible college, but that's the age where you can tell between
understanding
good and evil.
Good and evil.
Yeah.
So neuroscience from the periods of 0 to 7. Those are the building blocks of umntwana.
Okay.
There are certain things that uzowi, I say it's handle, I see sasikhuluma naye sikhulume kuyena semncane.
Okay.
And we're actually realizing it's starting to prop up now. Yabona uyathanda ukucula sasimculela nje le years alone. Oh, okay. And what I realized, guys, and this we must not do to our children. Asiyekeni ukulimita ingane. Asiyekeni ukulimita ingane.
Elaborate a bit more. What do you mean by limit? In terms of my talent, focus on this or...
So at this age, at the age, they're very exploratory. They like to explore. So sometimes Zoe, because it's no more Zoe double stairs, we are trying to akibela on the stairs.
Okay.
Now the first response hey, what happened? What have you?
Oh yes.
We are well learn. But she's or they are exploring in their mind. They are dealing with, as they grow, Leon dealing with the fear. We're not just okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to use a white race on my bomb. So to all those who are listeners to white, I'm sorry to use. At the ages of 3, 2, 4, 5, they go to camps, they go to adventure.
Yes.
Abasab. They don't fear.
Yeah.
They head on easy. You find them becoming exposed. Their minds are working very fast because they are exposed to camping. They're exposed to things that you and I are told, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Hey. Yeah, well, to a point where Zoe even writes, she draws on the furniture. I don't like that as a parent.
No, I don't think I would.
But what I realized, she's being autistic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's found something she likes to do with her hands, and she's drawing. So at one point, we used to shout at her, Zoe, don't do that, please. But then I started to, let me just observe her. Hey, man, she's very autistic. Then I decided, you know what? Instead of me shouting at her, let me buy her something that she can draw on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you're redirecting that from furniture onto a canvas.
Yeah. Because in her mind, she's looking for something to do because this thing is in her. Yeah,
yes. No.
So I'm saying, I've realized that these ages are important for the foundation, the building blocks. There are certain things, you know, hey, Dumagut, I know you're listening there. I'm starting to think there's certain things that I don't think they're God made for in us. They were environmentally made. You know, they're introverts, extroverts. Most of them, when you kind of look at it, you realize, wait a minute, this person, when they made a mistake, they've made to feel that they can't be worthy. So let me just remain like, and then the person starts, it's an introvert. But when you sit with them at work, you realize, wait a minute, this man is active. Where are they getting from this person introvert? So these ages 0 to 7 for me, they are foundational, they're key, bro. They're important.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting. Because now, one thing I want to ask you, Wuti, the foundational phases, ingane la ifunda khona. Does it matter ukuthi ufunde in terms of ukuthi rurally or these so-called privileged creches and ama-creche and whatnot? Can you now recover ingane uma ukuthi uyiqale mhlawumbe on a back foot? Does it affect ingane moving on to primary or high school in terms of ukuthi iqale i-foundation iqale kabi?
Look, the first and foremost, they normally say in psychology, the attitude is a product of the environment.
Okay.
Right? So first and foremost, the basis that creates the attitude is home.
Okay.
That's where it first all starts. The life skills and values you want, they're built at home first and foremost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the second part of that enhances those values, those attitudes, is the environment, in the schooling environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's learn. So, for example, you at home or where we live, we don't swear. But a child comes and says, and we don't talk about boyfriend, girlfriend. But Zoe is just going to be 26. She's like, Daddy, Mommy, I've got a boyfriend. I'm like, what the heaven?
Where do you even start singing, love?
I nearly crashed. That's what I'm doing. Watch, Baba, and she said a friend, and then I've got a boyfriend, and she looked at me, and I just said, okay, we don't talk that at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, my main point now is there are influences that happen in the environment, right? That impact in how in shaping the perspective of a child. But it all then comes down and boils to when they get back at home, we're like, no, no, no. At home, this is what no, but no, no, no. At home, this is what we say and do. And that becomes entrenched. When she comes and meets her friends, and no, 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 at home, this is what we do. So, so yes, the school definitely, because there are certain things that get built up. Um, there are certain things that get built up, um, that are building blocks based on the environment. So, for example, they have said, from the ages of primary going to grade 5, it's very important that mother tongue mutayas,
Yeah.
because it speaks, it affects there's this ability right now. Me among phone, it takes me a long time to phone, because I
Right.
have to translate sometimes it's using from the English to the Zulu, and sometimes I'm not very fluent in the English language,
Yeah.
right? So it takes me a long time. The capacity of how my brain moves is very slow. But umuntu who's come from has got a very good grasp of the mother tongue from a Lokshin and wherever. They go to a school or an institution and they learn, they become very fast at learning. That's why if you go and see these guys who come from the rural schools, and they tend to do very well at universities comparative to the guys who speak well. But in terms of the environment and the creation of affecting the personality,
Yeah.
those things, the environment will affect you. If for example, you'll know, Shenge, if you go to right now, between you who went to a former Model C school, if that was the case, and a person didn't go to a former Model C school, in terms of oral, you definitely be a beast, because you started orals when you still a pre-primary. They didn't, so they got a bit of shyness, but they're very good in content. But you're very good in articulation and that.
Yeah.
So all those things, those dimensions do affect. So the impact in where the child starts and the child schools will have an impact, in particular affecting the personality.
So I stand corrected. So foundational phase has a direct correlation with where a child will be, masindala, in terms of academics, based on they might not know Guti they're going to be a doctor or something,
Yeah.
but certain personality traits would have been imparted in them bese bancane. And then along the way they get developed until they become a certain person. Masemdala.
I would say, Guti, there's a certain level of exposure that impacts on the personality.
Okay.
Yeah, but on the character building, I personally believe there is a huge role that gets played by the family, and in terms of the decision in making the person character. And then obviously when there is understanding, it's a decision. But from the personality side,
Yeah.
by personality, let me make an example like this. Um, you come to a school, where you get told, or a crash, you get told, no, not making noise, can't make a noise. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, boy. But you come to a crash, guys, let's all sing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the vibrance is very different.
Yeah.
You go, that child in the evening will be at home and be singing, compared to the one that says, gets home. If they hear a shout, hey, they have to know, I have to maintain. So already the personality has been affected of the child.
Yeah.
So the foundational phase is a key building block. Yes, the character equally very important, but the personality.
Yeah.
So in other words, by personality, I mean they how they will respond and react to the society gets affected by such things like that. An example, you go, right now, Zoe can. My daughter loves swimming. She loves doing ballet. When she sees something in ballet, she can do all those things, and whatever, she can dance. Yeah, well, she's got a way of dancing and all that, because of what they got in ballet at the age of about 4 or 5, and what have you. And put in the water, she can do it. But
Yeah.
I've got another, put them in the water, they want to run away.
Yeah.
But that person's got a stronger character than Uzo. Okay, based on my own personal observation.
Yeah,
I don't know. But Uzo is able to say, you know what, I'm going to pull it in. This one, hey, I'm anti. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
So, in how they respond and react within the society, the behavioral, the personality, there's a huge influence in the type of environment the child is put in.
Yeah. Since high school ingane, finish with primary, we finish in primary. Primary sonke siyafana.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I'd like to think when you finish primary sonke siyafana.
Yeah.
We're now going to high school.
Yeah.
Grade 8, you're doing all the subjects.
Yeah.
Grade 9, you're doing all the subjects, but that's when you choose the subjects also wenza in grade 11, in grade 10 moving forward.
Yeah.
Let's say I choose a certain subject in grade 9.
Yeah.
I get to grade 10, halfway through the year, I'm like, actually, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to change?
The last time with the Department of Education, during our period, it was very hard to do that.
Yeah, in fact, with mine as well, it's very hard.
It was very hard. But now I think the Department of Education has allowed it between the grades, grade 10 and 11. I think 11 to 12 or 12, you can't change.
Okay.
So the department has allowed that. So I'm aware of a lot of learners who were doing maths, pure maths in grade 10.
All right.
But because of the results were not well, they were asked that they must in grade 11 do maths lit. There were others I'm aware of, grade 11, they're not doing well, they're asked to grade 12 to go into maths lit. So I think it depends on the severity and the veracity of the subject. So you can't, for example, do very well in consumer studies, or make an example, or drama, and say you want to go to physics. You need to start that physics from that time. So there's density of the subjects, but a person is allowed though. And it is allowed. So, for example, there are 3 streams. There's what you call your science stream. There's what you commerce, and what you call your general.
Yeah.
So a person who's normally viewed within the science stream, they can be flexi to move within commerce, or they can move into your general. But it's very hard for those with general to go into. Yeah. So that's the dynamics at times.
The reason why I'm asking is I personally remember I chose accounting in grade 9 for grade 10.
Yeah.
Halfway through grade 10, I was like, no, actually, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
However, I had a challenge changing into another subject. So I gave up an accounting in grade 10. I was just riding just to make sure that I finished. But I already given up. I knew from grade 10 that I'm not going to do anything that has to do with accounting.
Yeah.
But now, since I can't change it, I just have to carry on with it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. And you've answered it is possible to change. So now, in terms of accounting, would I then have to go back to grade? Would if it's allowed now, would I then have to go back to grade 10 to do it? If I'm in grade 11, or if I'm moving maybe to like, they'll just allow me to just change classes and just continue.
Okay. The way it's been structured, the Department of Education has structured it. They've so what happens is, you've got, as I said, you've got the science stream, you've got the commerce stream, and you've got the general stream.
Yeah.
Right. So all those streams of subjects. So what would happen in our times, in your time, because they're so structured. So in for example, if utata biology or life science, the next option would be either accounting. So the way they did it was to take one thing from the science stream, another thing from the commerce stream, so you become balanced.
Oh, okay.
That's how it was for us, and I think partially for you.
Okay.
The now it's done is that you got a pure science stream, you got a pure commerce stream, you got a pure general stream, or you can have a pure science stream with the mixture or 1 or 2 from the commerce side. Okay. And the main reason behind that is it's based on they've created kind of like a strata, or they've classified the industry. So all science would be engineering, health sciences. So it's mainly gearing you towards a qualification, or gearing you towards industry. So the Department of Education, with the various there's something called QCTO, they look at various standards. So the main intention is that if you finish here, it's either you can stream directed to a qualification that is aligned with that higher education, or the possibility of you being employed in that particular sector in QF level 4. So that's the main intention. So ideally, a person who's doing commerce, they're saying either, and they've got accounting, either want to become a bookkeeper, I want to become a clerical service, or I become if I want to take it there, or I want to go to become accounting, or become general, become finance, So the main reason behind that is purely based on you being streamlined into a particular qualification or into a particular industry. That's
Alright.
the main thing. Now, I think the key question comes in to a person who said, you know what, I took accounting, or I took physics, or I took consumer studies because I just liked it, and I realized, wait a minute, I don't like it. It all boils down to career guidance.
Yeah.
It's that. Ngokomthetho, Simpiwe, guys, a person starts to understand after the age of 7, 8. Your Zoes at 6 years old, they say they want to become doctors or engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then
Yeah.
it boils down to career guidance. That's the first thing. The second thing is back to the point that I spoke about us limiting. If you take a tree right now, a tree can give you oxygen, a tree can provide shade, a tree can provide furniture, a tree can provide fuel, a tree can provide a lot of things. The way God has made us, and this is something that I'm learning, and that's why I'm not gonna box my daughter. There is something great in you that is there's a lot, but the one thing can produce many branches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
so you can't be, and unfortunately it's the way education has been geared.
Yeah.
It's been geared, unfortunately, by those who've created it, that you limit yourself to that. Yeah, so that you can have a person who is a good sound engineer, be a DJ, be a good technical super engineer, can also be a good drama person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way how God has made us to be.
Yeah.
We are very diverse.
So if I get you correctly, so is it possible? Obvious, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So it's possible for an accountant to be a lawyer, to be a doctor.
Listen, if you right now within the psycho offices, there's a lawyer, there's an accountant who's a farmer, there's an accountant who's a fashion designer, there's an accountant who is in academia. They guys, it's the system. The system, the system that we live in creates a particular thought to say this is where you end.
Oh.
But that's not how things are supposed to be. You can be an outstanding, you can be a soccer player. You guys didn't know soccer. Umuntu was a great striker, but Umuntu was in midfield.
Yeah.
How? We thought this guy. Later on, Umuntu say defend. How? Or one person was a striker. Someone say keeper.
Yeah.
Our abilities are developed. No, skills are developed.
So you can never actually tie yourself down to one career path.
It shouldn't be like that.
That's very interesting because I believe firmly, and I've discussed this even with Unebo and a couple other of my friends. Would say 5 years, wherever you are in life, 5 years can change your life completely.
Sure.
If you're willing to invest 5 years into the development of yourself, whether it's academic course, from first year, undergrad, uphume nayo, say 3 years, and then you take 2 years in the industry, you'll be in a way better position than where you were when you first started. So it's never too late, you can change your life completely around, from being, for example, something else to being something else. From being a let's say you specialize in you're a chef. And I've been cooking for so many years. Now I want to just try finance. It's possible.
You can even decide, you know what, from being a chef, I'm going to produce ingredients. I want to become a producer. In fact, neuroscience says, it's in neuroscience, a person can still change careers at the age of 86. That's how the brain is so wide. At 86, I'm aware of about the 92 who've been graduating.
What?
Yeah. Go Google, you see.
I'm
Go
sorry
Google.
to input, but I'm also shocked. Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm actually shocked at that statement. What's it, 86?
86.
You can still change your career.
Yeah. Go right after this, to the listeners listening, they can go neuroscience, at the age of 86. You'll see the brain is so functioning. Look, guys, it's what man and people have made for us to make us limit ourselves. So you are able to change a career at the age of 86. I was all along in education. Right now, I'm in accounting. I'm in accounting now. So one, the way the educational system has been based, back to that question, a person who's moving from high school and going to the university. But before that, there's a clear foundation phase that is created by 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 the basic part, the foundational part. So your primary play a huge role in the foundations. Go to high school. High school, they become building blocks of what happened in at the primary. When you go now into higher education or post school, as defined, um, mainly for that, my view is basically a cultivation now. So get your studies, do your studies. By the way, there's a study that shows that about 680, 600,000, I'll be corrected, between 600,000 to 630,000 graduates, people with a diploma, people with a degree, people with a master's and PhD are unemployed.
All right.
Right, because the employment side is all based on market forces, supply and demand.
Yeah.
One day when we need this, the following 2 3 years we don't need this. So the issue of occupation in South Africa, we've got about 1,498, 1.5 occupations, all depend on the issue of supply and demand. So when you study based on the relevance of the market. Can I be employed by the market, or can what I'm studying use it to leverage myself?
Is there something like a generic qualification that puts you in the middle
Mm.
of different career fields? I know accounting does that,
Yeah.
but I stand corrected. It puts you in a position where, if let's say you want to go to engineering,
Mm.
you can, if you want to go, because every industry
Mm.
has an accounting element to it.
Mm.
For example, law, every industry has got a legal aspect to it.
Mm.
What other courses or other careers would you say somewhat generic and can go into almost all the career fields?
And normally they would say your social sciences.
Right.
Your social sciences are more. So the way they break it up for the generic categorization
Yeah.
of qualifications is based on, you've got qualifications that are technical, that
Right, yeah.
you have to know this to do that.
Yes.
And then there's a qualification that says if you have this, you can still be part of that. So,
Okay.
for example, you got a person who's in HR. The
Yeah.
HR person, they can work in an engineering company. They can wear it. So that is it's more of, they are based on softer skill side. Then
Okay.
your technical ones is that you can't take an HR person and says go and draw a bridge.
Nah, you can't.
Yeah,
No,
but so
can't.
the way they differentiate between, so a person who's sitting down, how do I differentiate something being generic? The generic is based on soft skills, or things that can be imparted from one person to another person, and are utilized as enhancements within the entity or organization or company. So things like your Bachelor of Arts are normally viewed as generic, but can have majors. I need to move here, I need to move here.
Okay.
But your Bachelor of Social Science, they are viewed like that. And you do have qualifications like your BCom, which are called BCom General,
Alright.
right? Then you have a particular major, but you can still move into another field. Then you've got others that are structured, purely technical, BSc, for example,
Right.
medicine,
Right.
engineering, accounting. So those are based because of the requirements of their technical skills and what they bring in. So BA, Bachelor of Arts, Special Social Science, are normally viewed would be more of your generic course or modules in that, and then you'll have others in different fields become general, LLB probably, and what have you. Yeah,
So let's say I study, for example, law.
yeah,
I finish my LLB and whatnot. Then I'm like, actually, as I want to do something in engineering.
yeah.
Well, is it possible? And I've heard it's possible, but I just want you to clarify that up a bit more. I'm in law, but I want to go into engineering.
Yeah.
Is this possible? Like I do a postgraduate diploma and then move into that stream, or do I now have to go start from first year in undergrad and then work my way up?
The Council on Higher Education in 2019 introduced something called an expanded sub-qualification framework.
All right.
So what they did was to introduce bridging subjects. So a person can, those were your higher certificates in accounting, okay, higher certificates, advanced diplomas.
Yes.
As bridging for a person who's got a qualification. So they call that a horizontal and vertical articulation. So in other
Okay.
words, a person who's coming from a different industry wants to bridge into one industry, they
Right.
can use that qualification to bridge into that. So they would get those. So those bridging programs get viewed as your vocational programs. They bridge you from one industry in terms of study to another industry. So that is possible. Now, the challenge comes in where there are particular requirements. So there are certain qualifications when they get created, or institutions they create or produce or make certain qualifications that are in line with industry.
Yeah.
So those qualifications then get accredited by those professional bodies.
Yeah.
So in order for you, for example, you want to become a psychologist, the Psychologist Institute, whatever, might say, we require a person to have at least a master's in psychology.
Yeah.
So here you are coming as an engineer. You realize, wait a minute, I like industrial psychology or clinical psychology. The first thing might be is that you need to look at the requirements of that industry,
Yeah.
or the requirements set out by the institution. So if they say, look, if we look at your modules, these modules, we can see, we can credit this, we can start you at a second year level. All right. So it really depends upon the requirements of the industry and the requirements of the institution that you're applying at. So it is possible, but there are other at times where other institutions would come with something like a conversion module. So they would look at your what you have, and they would say, okay, you've got at least your module is in line with the industry.
Okay.
So let's make an example. You've got a person who's got did biomedical science.
Okay.
They want to become a doctor. So the biomedical science was within the field. Oh, okay, there's something else again. There's industry and there's fields, right? So
Okay.
industry is made up of a lot of fields within that particular thing. So for example, let me make example commerce. In
Right.
commerce, you've got business management, you've got accounting, you've got finance, you've got tax, you've got da 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 da.
Economics.
Economics. So those are fields. Industry is commerce.
All right.
Yeah,
all
well,
right.
Lord.
Yeah.
So industry is the specification. That's why you've got qualification that says Bachelor of Commerce,
Mhm.
Bachelor of Commerce Accounting. Others say Bachelor of Accounting Science. Well, we are focusing purely on industry. We're not going to focus on anything else. Marketing big Bachelor of Commerce. I'm talking about industry in accounting field. Yeah, but that's our qualification is. So if you have a qualification, a previous qualification that is within the field, first of all, is a field within the industry, it's easier to bridge into that to the other field. The next thing might do a bridging course, do this, da 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 da. But
Right.
if you're coming arts and you're saying you're into medicine,
Nah, you can't.
so you might require to say, you know what, we might need you. We've seen that you've reached the mature age. Universities call that you've reached the mature age, and by looking, you've done certain qualifications. Means that your mind is to this particular level. You need to start at the first year because your qualification has not nowhere been within our industry.
Is there such a thing? Let's say I didn't study. My matric results were poor. So I didn't study for years. I just went into the industry because I couldn't get into any qualifications that I wanted to do. So I carry on with my life. Let's say I'm 35 years old. Like as I said, I really want to study something that's in line with the industry that I'm in. For example, I'm working in logistics.
Yeah.
Let's say engineering because it's one of the heavy ones. I'm working in engineering, and I'm like, listen, my matric results can't qualify me in terms of points to study this.
Yeah.
That's the age of maturity.
Yeah.
Will that allow me to then study that thing there?
Normally what institutions have introduced, all academic institutions or study institutions, something called RPL. So
Okay.
they recognize your prior learning. There
Okay.
is certain learning that you've occupied or you've been able to gather as you've been working.
Yeah.
So what they would do, they would look at the level of experience that you had, and what would happen normally. You can be able to do. So a person right now who's listening, who's saying, "I've been working for years," you can do something called your short learning programs. So it's either a short learning program or, as I spoke about, the expanded sub-qualification framework,
All right.
a higher certificate in that particular field,
Okay.
which then generates a credential for you. You complete that, and you say, no, I can do an advanced certificate, or I can then do a first or second year into the mainstream of that.
Okay.
So let's take a person who's been working for 5-7 years, you said, in engineering, and they're saying, you know what, I want something. They can go and look at an institution that offers a short learning in engineering programs or a higher certificate in an engineering program. they get that higher certificate, and then they can use that with the RPL to apply an institution for a BEng, Bachelor of Engineering, what's
Yeah.
in for first year and what's in view. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is I can move from one industry to the next. It's just that
Possible.
there's certain qualifications or certain guidelines that I need to follow.
Absolutely. So, for example, let's say for you, you've got a law.
Yeah.
You say, no, you know what? I'm realizing I think accounting's got money. So what would happen is that you can go into something called an advanced certificate in accounting sciences. So if you got a qualification, a degree,
Yeah.
you can go into an advanced certificate in accounting sciences. That is equivalent to a diploma in accounting.
Oh, okay.
So they've taken the 3 years of diploma, they put it within 1 year.
Isn't that a bit heavy though?
It really, because the basis they're saying is that because you've got a qualification of the NQF level 7,
Yeah.
and you've mastered. Look, the word study, or the word study comes from the word discipline. It simply means
Okay.
you're a person who's disciplined. There is you can have a person. I'm sorry to say, ongazi next, but is very disciplined. Number no 90.
Yeah. No, that is very true. That is very true.
They can cram very well. It's word discipline. That's why if you go to the universities, they say the discipline of arts, discipline. It comes from the word discipline. If you are disciplined, listen, there's nothing that you cannot do. So what they're then assuming is that because you've got, based on the NQF, your National Qualification Framework, you've met certain standards of a level.
Yeah.
You can then be able to go, if not a lower level, and still match the principles required in that level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So based on what you said, about umuntu ongazi lutho being able to score a 90. In terms of that industry. In terms of that industry, let me just be specific. In terms of that industry, I found a bit disciplined and get a 90. So now let's say there's this big thing going on, Bati, and which I believe in as well.
Yeah.
However, they say English is not a measure of intelligence, and I believe in that as well.
Sure.
I don't want to lie. I believe that English, no language is a measure of intelligence.
Yeah.
However, you need to have a certain grasp of a language in order to be able to take in information and understand it.
Sure.
How does then work? How does one then improve the certain demand or command of a certain language, which will then assist them into getting or absorbing information in terms of, let's say, someone goes into varsity. They're very smart, but then what they're struggling with is absorbing the information that they're receiving, because I don't think some courses in tertiary are taught in our indigenous languages.
Absolutely.
What does one then do in such instances?
They normally call that comprehension. They normally call that comprehension, being able to comprehend the data, the information that is being provided. Right. So the best way a person can grow in comprehension, being able to comprehend, is through reading. Exposing yourself, reading is the key behind comprehension. That's the best way you can be able to grasp a command of a language, is by reading, because what happens to your brain, it reaches a level of complexity when it doesn't understand something. And when it reaches a complex, have you noticed when I don't want to use the word frustrated, you want to get this, but you told us you can't rest. You don't rest. So when your brain reaches that point of complexity, there's certain things that get released in you that desires to get information. So it's because there's a lack of information. So the best way to get a command of a language is through reading. By the way, those are one of the things that have been key attributes identified by the Department of Higher Education through a research. I forgot the name of the research. That's why there was issue of introduction of vernacular languages and what have you. Because a person reads, for example, briefly explain. I would actually brief.
Underwear.
Or discuss in your own words.
Yeah,
well, a person puts points, but it's discuss. So it's comprehension. It's just comprehension.
So now you then have to elaborate and speak about certain topics.
Yeah.
Yo, there's actually quite a broad thing. It's actually quite a lot. So now, psychometric tests. Um, I know we did them in grade 9, moving on to grade 10
Yeah.
to help us choose career paths.
Yeah.
And I've picked up now that even in industries they do them, because a friend of mine, in fact, 3 or 4 friends of mine,
Yeah.
they did interviews, they passed interviews. They're like, listen, we just need to now do psychometric tests.
Yeah.
So now, what's your take on psychometric tests? Obviously you can't, because you're not an industry expert in those things.
Yeah.
But then, what's your take on psychometric tests? And do you really think the results from psychometric tests, based on what you had said, that a person can do various things?
Yeah.
Do you think you should limit yourselves to the results based on your psychometric tests?
Okay, my understanding, I remember when I did it, the results came out, and I'm still, I don't know how I psyched. They made me do it the whole day.
All right.
When the results came out, I remember I still got employed, but the other party, my managers came to me and they said, "Yo, hey, that showed us that you are more of a person who's focused on one thing. You want to get that done, yeah, Bob." Because I think for that, and the way I understood it when I did it, it's there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
They just want to get a sense of a a sense of how you think in certain situations.
Yeah.
And what does that reflect around you as a person? So what type of person? So is that right or wrong? I'll be really lying. I don't know if that's the best way to make an assessment of an individual. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's better, because now some people panic when it's time for certain assessments, because psychometric tests can also be looked at as a form of assessment, and then they panic.
Absolutely.
So now you don't really get a true reflection of who the person is. Okay, we're done with high school, we move on to varsity, we do all these different things, and then you get people doing extracurricular activities in varsity level. What's your take? I know it's been done for years, but what's your take in politics in school? Is there a place for politics in school?
In universities.
Yeah, varsity level.
Yeah, look, first of all, in principle, I agree about the importance of extramural activities.
Yeah.
I think there is a clear correlation between the functioning of the body and the functioning of the mind.
Okay.
I really believe that. So, extracurricular, I remember in one institution, they introduced that when a person gets employed, the institution now have within the academic transcript what that person has been involved in terms of clubs, societies, and that.
Yeah.
And the main reason was because the employers or the recruiters were going back to the institution and saying, we've got a person who's very good here in terms of their marks. They've been getting the distinction. They can get the cum laude, summa cum laude, but they can't work as a team. They can't work with other people. And that's one of the beauties that I've loved about the schools or some of the schools that we attended. We got to play soccer, we got to play sports, teamwork.
Yeah.
When you get team was easy. When you had to fight together as a team. But those that I realized never came from those schools, it was easy for them to be by themselves. It's I was a born now.
Yeah.
But us like no, you hit one pound some boys, I'm gonna go for you, Kloof, for example.
But you are antisocial.
Antisocial.
Lindoti, what you were saying in the beginning of the interview, some things are man created.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So certain skills you can learn as you go along.
As you go along. Yeah, we able to learn. And that's the process of life. So the extramural activity is very important. Regarding student politics or student activism, look, I'm not gonna lie, guys. In my case personally, it really helped me a lot from the leadership side. Student politics not necessarily introduced me because I was involved in the leadership in high school, but I got a dimension of attending and approaches, strategy and tactics. So do I say student politics is important beyond everything else? I don't know. But what I can say, being involved in whether it be a club in society at the institution, it really helps you from the leadership side. And you can develop leadership, you develop handling people, putting agenda packs together. When I got to work in 17 where I worked, it was easy for me to run a meeting because I knew how to run a meeting based on a student body. So being involved in extramural activity without you forsaking the core aspect, that's why I said when we look for a school for my daughter, I want not because I want a school I want a school to focus purely on sports, but I would like a school where they can balance it. She can do swimming, she can do hockey, she can do those things are nice.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of memory. So extracurricular or extramural activity within an institution, I really say a person let them be involved in something.
Okay. Okay. No, it makes sense. You answered right.
Perfect answer.
All
Because now
right.
it makes me get to understand Uti, what you're saying, Uti. That's where actually some people can say Uti, because they say I'm antisocial.
Yeah.
And you're not antisocial. It's
Yeah.
just that you never participated in curricular activities that involved many people where you
Yeah.
can learn leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, so I understand that that answer answers me very well. And funny enough, I've got an idea on how to, influence the younger generation that is coming. Uti, actually go out there,
Yeah.
socialize, go out there, do the sports, go out there, get involved in those political movements as a schooling that bring positivity within the space. So, yeah, man, that was an inspirational question, Simply a great one, great answer as well.
And to that, Shange, there's one thing that we need to. I want to say this, that in that point, that every phase in life, it lays a skill or a foundation for the next
Yes.
phase.
Yes.
It's given. So when you're exposed to yourself to those in the universities, I always say this: make friends. Because you never
Yeah.
know. This person might next time become an MEC. That person might become a person you call a doctor. So there's these things that you just get to learn within the community. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm of the view extracurricular, being involved in it, being part of it, participating, activism within it. It helps. You don't have to be involved in everything, but that at least that's the one thing that can just be able to help you out.
All right. In closing,
Yeah.
funding. I know NSFAS only covers your undergrad, and then from there on, you have to find your way.
Yeah.
Stand corrected, but that's my understanding. So let's say I do my undergrad in something, but I can't find a job. While I'm still looking, I'm like, you know what? Let me just continue with my studies. What avenues are available for such people? Because now they aren't covered by NSFAS, but then they're not working in order to be able to fund their own academics. So now, are there any avenues available for such people, or are those based on streams or industries that they have to look in those particular industries, or is there a generic place like NSFAS that covers any industry that can assist with funding?
So to those who can't be covered by NSFAS, it's a very difficult question. I must be honest. It's a very difficult situation. Let me put it like that.
Right.
It's so I think the NSFAS puts it at anything below 130,000 or below 200, anything above 130,000, 150. I think the last time I checked, you are classified as coming from within the middle class.
Right.
So those people, in many a times, either the one key would be a loan from the bank through a parent acting as a surety. So the parent would have to get a study loan for that. There are some banks where they put the parent as the one paying in small portions. Once they work, the child takes over that loan. So there's bank loans. Secondly, they would need to be able to look for bursary scholarships. So if they pass very well, there are scholarships. The next aspect is just to be able to look for bursaries. So that's the one part from the funding part. Or alternatively, the parent must be able to fund the child to study, which is very expensive. One
Yeah.
institution, they're paying 250,000 for the entire year. Now,
Yeah.
then the person who completes in that process, who has NSFAS, they'll have that responsibility to, in portions, a portion of it gets converted into a bursary, the next into a loan, interest bearing, they need to pay that. A person who can't be able to do that, it's going to be a very difficult one, Shank. I'm not going to lie with you. In particular, if they're still owing the institution.
Yeah.
So the best way that I would recommend to a person is to apply at work. If you don't have a transcript, ask the recruiter to send an email, and you can forward it to the university. The university can liaise with the recruiter,
Yeah.
and they can give them a copy or something like that to show that you have completed your studies. I am aware though now, with the free, the high education fees must fall. There was an aspect that transcripts may be provided if the employer is showing that they will recruit the person. So the avenues is just purely being able to get bursaries, sponsorship, and just knocking in doors of industries.
I'm just thinking about the last point that you made. If that transcripts will be provided if the employer is willing to employ.
Yeah.
However, sometimes producing a transcript is a prerequisite of the application itself. So you won't even meet the employer until the application has been processed. But then now they can't process the application without the transcript.
True. No, definitely. It's a serious challenge. And I think the reason why the institutions are doing that, they're just trying to protect. I think it's the way for them to hold on to you if you have not paid or you have an outstanding amount. I'd be really lying to say what the real purpose besides them you owing an amount, so they hold something that they know you'll definitely come back to you. So I am aware in the last discussion a couple of years ago there was a discussion after the announcement of free education that transcripts will be provided on the grounds that, and I know some institutions work differently.
Right.
So if they want to recruit you, the recruiter will speak directly with the institution and then they'll send something to show as proof and that. So it's very difficult because the thing is the transcript itself, not just the transcripts, the certificate. The thing that's important for the recruiter or the employer is the certificates. And if that is not there, it's a bit of a challenge because they don't care about your 40s, 80s, 60s. Yeah, but I imagine the doctors that we have, Pastor Wolford. Hey guys, so about surgery done by a person past 30%.
Yeah, no. Keep my notes. Notes.
Yeah, so those are the challenges that I kind of faced. Yeah,
I know it makes sense. I don't know, but is there anything you want to add or anything you want to ask?
I know Ayuba may actually interview. No, man, it's beautiful to actually listen. I hope those that are going to be watching and listening at home, you've gotten so much information from all of this conversation. Yeah, I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it too much.
Lethu, thank you, brother. You've been an inspiration. The knowledge that you've dropped here, I really hope, Uti, you guys were listening. I really hope, Uti, you guys were watching and you learned something from this interview. Lethu, if someone wants to know more, which institutions should they reach out to in terms of career guidance, in terms of all-round guidance per se?
The Department of Higher Education has got a site known as CARETA.
All right.
Where it's got all industries, all sectors that give bursaries, all sector scholarships. So they can go into the website, DHET, Department of Higher Education and Training and then Science, and then there's a portal called CARETA.
All right.
They could click on that, and it's got a whole list of career guidance. They got a career guidance documents, and also the different industries. They can just click on that, and they can get where they can get the bursaries and what have you. Yeah.
No, that is awesome. Maybe next time we'll come back and speak about something you know specifically about, not just the industry, but career-wise, which is accounting, because I know you are very passionate about accounting and you've helped a lot of people coming up into the field and you're still doing it every day. So we appreciate people like you. We appreciate people who are willing to look for the small person and help push them. I mean, there's a number of chartered accountants that have gone through you. You're passionate about training in varsities. You're passionate about even just giving advice. I'm one of the people who actually go to Lethu when they want to know more about academics, when they want to know about career guidance and all those things there. I mean, if there's anyone else out there who's got this knowledge that Lethu has, please find someone, reach out to people who are young, who need this information, because now we need to be able to share information. We need to be able to educate and empower each other. That's the only way we can grow as a nation. Teach one person and hope that you've planted a seed to teach another person. Shenge Entertainment, we are out. We'll see you next time. And remember, your dreams are valid.
Personal gold chain in my Jesus piece. Even when I'm in pride, strong.